Oh, yeah.
Going down and hit the roundabout and come back. It's always
I
gonna be
do.
okay.
Yeah, we did do Friday. And I'm unaffiliated now, so I can vote on the Republican too.
Oh, did you?
Primary, yeah, so vote myself.
Huh?
So I can vote myself.
Oh. I didn't vote. I didn't. You don't have to know.
No, I want,
Oh,
I've met
I know, you met me.
twice. Yeah, well,
Well, people do
I've
that.
been in the yeah, he's not.
This one might be a church.
Let the record show at 6 o'clock, we'll call a meeting to order. Sarah, will you give us the roll call?
Eddie Gopinauer.
Here.
Linda Barnhart.
Present?
Garrett Ball.
Here.
Shannon Moore.
Present.
Ken Lewis.
Present.
Daniel Gant. Nick Gill.
Okay, we have a quorum. Approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Mr. Goff, second by Ms. Norton to approve the agenda as submitted. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Do we have anyone to speak under the open governmental? No. Let the record show that there's no one to speak. And let the record show that Mr. Deals has joined us. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Goff, second by Ms. Norton to approve the meeting minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting minutes are approved. We will begin our public hearings. First item on the agenda is Bridal Creek.
The first public hearing tonight is a request for final plat approval. The project is Bridal Creek Phase 8, lots 550 through 557 and 560 through 574. It's filed 2201-027. The developer's Panhandle Homes and the engineer's Fox and Associates. It's located in the Apecan District, tax map 10, parcel 20.1, and is located on the east and west sides of Barrel Race Road within the Bridal Creek subdivision. This phase proposes 23 single-family residential lots on approximately 19 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon receipt of a surety in the amount of $806,791.81. Plat to be released upon receipt of the surety.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening. Steve Sianovich with Fox and Associates, representing the applicant.
Thank you. Again, this is a public hearing. If you have questions or comments that you want to make regarding Bridal Creek, now's your opportunity. Please come forward, state your name, your address, and your comments that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Clarence Settle. I live at 296 Balmoral Lane, Martinsburg, West Virginia, 25404. My phone number is 304-616-7878. My wife, I'm representing me and my wife here at the hearing. She would have been here. She's a little under the weather. I thank you for this opportunity to have an opportunity to address the planning commission in reference to the development of our community. Actions that have been taking place in Bridal Creek subdivision since 2014. Reduction of the open area from 5.5 to 3.5 acres. A waiver to reduce the 161 parking space requirements down to 50 spaces for the recreational area. An exemption from Section 705 of 2009 subdivision regulation requiring sidewalks. Phase 5, 6, 7, and now 8 is under construction with heavy equipment in all the areas with 40 to 60 homes in the middle of the construction. Starting in Phase 6, Bridal Creek, the roads have been reduced from 25-foot width to 18 foot. Because we are a rapid growing community, we would like to see the preteen area and the 60 by 75-foot play area installed in the rec area as shown on the Bridal Creek Phase 4 sketch plan. Our neighborhood needs to be kid-friendly. As stated in the Bridal Creek Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, Article 11, page 25, subsection CC, General Storage. All permitted personal property included but not limited to garbage containers, bicycles, toys, and so on shall be stored within the home or the garage of each lot. The community rec area gives the kids a safe place to play and is a vital to the well-being of our community. Enclosed is a copy of the letter that lays out the amenities for our community from the Bridal Creek Homeowners Association, dated the 28th, 2015. The Homeowner Association is controlled by Pandora Homes of Berkeley County, the developer. As a homeowner, we do not have any vote and get limited updates from the developer. In the letter, it states, as stated in the past, these improvements continue to be a part of the development plan for Bridal Creek, and we are hopeful that Bridal Creek community will continue to grow and be able to support the amenities for all the residents. Currently, there are over 400 homes in our community now, and more under construction. In 2015, we had a total of 100 homes. It's time to add the additional play areas. We are seeking the Planning Commission's support in obtaining an upgrade for the safety of our growing family community. I have been serving on the Developers Roundtable since 2016, and the Berkeley County Planning Commission staff has been working on the rewrite of the 2009 subdivision regulation. We reviewed the draft of the 22 subdivision regulation and submitted the following recommendations to be adopted. Requiring a rec area to be established before construction begins in a new subdivision. Welfare and safety of the residents. Requiring percentage of recreational facility to be installed as construction advances, i.e. 25%, 50%, 75%. The welfare of the residents. Require the minimum road size for sidewalks, pedestrian and driver safety. Require minimum road size without sidewalks, pedestrian and driver safety. Require the roads width be determined before construction starts. Do not allow roads within to change sides in the subdivision, pedestrian and driver safety. Require infrastructure plan of phased construction to be placed in place before the construction of dwellings, health, safety, and welfare of the residents. The mission statement. The planning department is one department operates under the authority of the Berkeley County Commission. This department's mission is to help protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the county. This is achieved by providing direction and oversight and orderly, sound, and cost-effective land management in Berkeley County through the administration of the subdivision regulation. I thank you for this opportunity to address this body, and I'll take any questions that you would have.
Did you give a copy of this to our planner?
You can give it to Sarah.
I'll be glad to give her a copy.
Do you have an extra copy? You can give one to the county engineer as
Oh,
well.
I'd love to give one to the county engineer.
Very good.
Any questions? Chief, I appreciate your support in trying to help out the community.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Settle. Any other questions from the public regarding Bridal Creek? Let the record show that there's no additional comments from the public. We can take a motion to close public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion from Mr. Goff, second from Mr. Gokenhour to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Mr. Sianovich, do you want to address some of the comments that Mr.
I'd be happy to, Linda, if you give me a few minutes.
Sure.
I guess what I'd like to speak to is the amenity site. At present, the amenity site is complete with the exception of the pool and the pool house. It's my understanding that the developer is getting mixed responses from the residents within Bridal Creek because a pool's very expensive to operate, and those operational costs have to be borne by the people that are members of the HOA. Mr. Suttle spoke about the play area, the 40 by 60, I believe is what he quoted. What was intended by that play area was a grassed, level surface that the kids can kick a ball or throw baseball around or something like that. That's in and that's complete. We actually prepared an as-built of this amenity site a while back, and the hot lot's there with the playground equipment, the basketball courts are there, the parking area is there. The site's completely graded, stormwater management's in, site's fully stabilized and functional. Again, the only facility that isn't there yet is the pool house and the pool. And again, due to mixed responses from folks within the community, whether they want to see an assessment to pay the increased costs associated with the maintenance, upkeep, and insurance on the swimming pool.
Can I just ask one thing? I mean, I'm looking at the drawing here, and he's saying the top lot's here, but there's also
Well,
shows
wait a minute.
preteen area.
Yeah, we've closed the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Doug, can you take this memo and go over it with Mr. Sianovich and see how much, and Laura too, see how much of it that Mr. Sianovich says is complete is actually in place? Can you do that for me?
Yeah, we have, I'd like to be able to go over it and look at all the aspects
Right.
and stuff that we're getting all that back in from Panhandle now. A lot of this stuff, was kind of not what's on here tonight, so.
Right, okay. Well, if
We
you,
need time to sit down, knowing how with Steve, we'll arrange something and then we'll contact you.
and then you'll respond to Mr. Settle, okay?
And I look forward to testifying at the new subdivision regulation.
Okay, well, there will be a public hearing when that
Yes,
happens.
ma'am. I'll follow it very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Linda, could I make one other brief comment?
Yeah.
The first bullet points on the document that Mr. Suttle passed out. It's my understanding that everything he stated there is accurate, and every action that was summarized there in the first bullet point.
Which, we didn't get a copy of that. What is that first bullet point?
First bullet point is reduction of open recreation area from 5.5 to 3.5 acres. That was an action presented to the Planning Commission years ago. Bullet point number.
Mr. Settle, do you have another copy for Mr. Deal?
Sure.
Yeah, the rest of us didn't get any up here, so
Yeah,
we're
well,
kind of just,
the problem I have is I ran out of ink with my copy machine, so you might not have the attachment because it ate up a lot of ink. Thank you.
Bullet point number 2 reads, and I'll read verbatim from the document Mr. Suttle passed out. A waiver to reduce 161 parking spaces required down to 50 spaces for rec area. That was another action where a waiver was presented to this Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission chose to approve that waiver request. And I do mention that the few times, probably the half a dozen times that I've been down to the Bridal Creek recreation area, or amenity site as we refer to it on the site plan, there's usually only a car or two there in that parking field, or there'll be kids playing basketball, or there'll be a young family where, you know, the father or the wife push the kids down in a stroller to let them play on the the top lot equipment. I've never seen more than probably 3 cars. I don't live there, so maybe there's times it is full, but the number of times that I've been there, it's only been kind of one hand the number of cars in the parking lot.
Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll have Doug and Laura take a look at this and get with you, and
Sure.
then we'll respond to Mr. Settle with the findings. How's that? Just so we
Thank
don't
you.
have to hash it out.
Just one thing I'd like to point out, Brandon, this drawing in here is actually the sketch plan. And it's not off the preliminary plan, so I would not give this any credence, so this is looked at by law enough. I mean, the sketch plan is not the preliminary plan.
Sketch plan is just an idea.
Yes, ma'am.
And the age of that sketch plan would go back when my memory serves me correctly, when Kim Petrucci was in the position that Doug's in currently. So it wasn't yesterday, I guess is my point. It's been quite a while ago.
You may want to get some more up-to-date documents.
Well, ma'am, I went over to the courthouse, and the lady couldn't find the sketch plan in the courthouse.
Well, it would never have been recorded in the courthouse. It's only the idea, the initial idea that Mr. Henry had whenever he presented the project first
Well, I
to,
was here when the sketch plan was approved, and I don't have a stamped copy of it.
well, it doesn't get a stamp copy. It's just an idea. And then
Okay.
there's many
The
changes.
idea, the only idea, I'm looking for the pre-teen area, that's the idea I'm looking for.
But what we're trying to say is the preliminary plan is a plan that you would be building from. That is the construction drawing. That is where everything is followed. This is an idea and a concept.
It can change from the sketch.
It can change, it can change.
So he can reduce our tot lock and not totally, I mean,
I'm
he
gonna
can put in the
The
tot lock.
areas can't change, but the details could, let's just put it that way.
I'm not gonna say that he did that, what I'm gonna say is things can be revised.
Okay.
And the document that I'm showing you is what
Mr.
he put
Settle.
out to the, put
Okay.
out to the citizens that live in Berkeley County. Thank you very much. I appreciate all your support that you give to
Okay.
Berkeley County citizens.
Okay.
You're really supportive.
We just need to get everything properly documented before we start talking about it, because it's a sketch, it's a concept plan, and not to be built under that. And we understand that, but, you know, this has been going on a long time. Okay, planning commission members, do you have questions?
Yeah, I do. Steve, has any of this Bridal Creek been turned over to homeowners association yet?
I believe so. I want to say
Certain phases have.
Certain places have.
sections 1 through 4, as County Engineer Smith already offered or made recommendations to council about releasing bonds, and a prerequisite to get to the point where you're releasing is the consultant to demonstrate to staff that open spaces have been dedicated to the HOA. So to answer your question, phases 1 through 4 at a minimum, because we hadn't submitted as-built on phases 5 or 6 yet, but if my memory serves me correctly, we did dedicate HOA grounds in section 5, phase 5 and phase 6 to the HOA.
That's been done, but he hasn't had other things done to come in for as-built and bond units and council. But I do know that he has transferred those other two sections.
Well, and part of my question, and the reason for my question is, you know, that the amenities apparently that were approved and presented, you know, to the planning commission and was put forth to future prospective buyers showed a pool and a pool area and all those things. You know, there's probably a lot of people expecting to have those amenities, whether he thinks they should or should not. You know, I would think that those homeowners would certainly have that choice, not the developer.
It's my understanding the feedback he's getting is kind of like, 50-50. I understand your point and your question, but what I understand, some people want it, some people don't, with the concern being the additional cost for the pool house.
Yeah, and I totally understand that part, but if I'm just trying to put myself in their position, I'm all here knowing or thinking that we're gonna have a pool for my kids and all those things, and then 51% of people say, no, we don't want it. Hang on here, man,
I understand completely.
that's what I meant.
I'd be happy to speak with Mr. Henry and prior to the next meeting, give an update on.
I would just, I would strongly recommend that it be a meeting with the homeowners so that they are up to speed.
If it's 3 bedroom, they should pay.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, do we know what section Mr. Settle lives in?
Section 4, I believe.
Okay, so he is aware of an HOA.
I would certainly think so. I believe their HOA does meet. Again, I don't reside there, but I do have a staff member that does. And it's based on my understanding there are meetings periodically. Or at a minimum, I know there's blanket emails, for lack of a better word, that go to all the folks in the community. Everyone's rather well informed from what I understand as far as the happenings within the community.
Okay. Any additional questions, planning commission members? This project before us this evening is for section
Phase 8.
Phase 8. Yeah.
Ready for a motion, ma'am?
I am.
I'll make the motion that we accept staff recommendation for final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $806,791.81. Plat to be released upon receipt of surety.
Okay, I have a motion, Mr. Gokenhour, second, Mr. Goff, to accept the staff recommendation, and that is to approve the final plat contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $806,791.81. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, the next item for public hearing is Arcata Springs.
The next public hearing is also a request for final plat approval. The project is Arcata Springs North, Section 1, Phase 6, lots 121 through 124, and 214 through 228. The file is 2203-077. The developer is Monarch Development Group, and the engineer is Gordon. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 12, parcel 29.3, and tax map 7, parcels 5, 5.1, and 5.2. This property is located on Van Cleavesville Road, approximately 2,000 feet east of its intersection with Needy Road. The developer is proposing 19 single-family attached lots on approximately 7.3 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval, contingent upon receipt of a surety in the amount of $742,224 even, plat to be released upon receipt of the surety and completed developer's agreement.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening, Lynch Christian with Monarch.
Thank you. This is a public hearing for Arcata Springs. If you have questions, please come forward, state your name, your address, and any questions you might have.
Seeing none, move public hearing be closed.
Second.
Okay, let the record show that there is no comment from the public. Have a motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Deal, to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of this project?
Hearing no question, ma'am, I'll make a motion we accept staff recommendation for final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $742,224. Plat is to be released upon the receipt of surety and completed development.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour. Did I hear Mr. Lewis?
Or Mr. Law.
Motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Lewis to accept the staff recommendation, and that is to grant final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $742,224. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
The next item for public hearing is Weber Springs.
Yes, this is a public hearing for a request for major plan change. The project is Weber Springs, Section 3, Phase 2, file 2201-007. The developer is Weber Springs LLC, and the engineer is Kimberly J. Petrucci, PE. It's located in the Mill Creek District, tax map 10, parcel 18.5, and is located along Middleway Pike, approximately 1,800 feet south of Sulphur Springs Road. This major plan change proposes 5 single-family detached lots on approximately 1.4 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On March 31st, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith stated that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance. The major plan change meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement to the final plat stage.
Okay, this is a public hearing for Weber Springs. Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Well, good evening. I'm Mike Roberts, representing the project.
Okay, thank you. Again, public hearing for Weber Springs. If you have questions or comments, please come forward. State your name, your address, and any questions you might have regarding this project.
Seeing none, make a motion, public hearing be closed, ma'am.
Okay, I have, there's no comments from the public. I have a motion from Mr. Gokenhour, second Mr. Goff, to close public hearing for Weber Springs. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Roberts or the staff?
Hearing no questions, I make a motion, we accept staff recommendations in advancement of the final plan, some major plan.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to move the major plan change to final plat stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, the next public hearing is Chancellorsville Industrial.
Yes, this public hearing is a request for sketch plan advancement. The project is Chancellorsville Industrial, file 2202-043. The developer is Hillwood Development and the engineer is Bowler. It's located in the Falling Waters District, tax map 14, parcels 5 and 5.15. The site's located north of its intersection of Hammonds Mill Road and Chancellorsville Drive. This project proposes a 915,420 square foot industrial building on approximately 71 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On April 12, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone to represent Chancellorsville Industrial?
Good evening. Derek Reardon with Bowler.
What's your last name?
Reardon.
Okay, this is a public hearing on the project for an industrial warehouse. Questions or comments from the public? This is your opportunity.
Seeing none, move public hearing be closed.
Let the record show that there is no comments from the public regarding Chancellorsville Industrial. I have a motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Lewis, to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Commission members, do you have questions regarding this project of Mr. Redkin or of the staff?
Any type of traffic impact study, did it trip any of the triggers there for that?
Traffic study was done. It's basically being rolled into the traffic study that already exists for the improvements up there for that 81 and 81 with the addition of that 2 building. So most of there won't be any, I don't think, substantial impacts to this project from that. But I think the traffic study is they're still wrapping that up at this point.
We have a conditional approval from the Department of Highways, and there's no offsite that's required to move that.
Thank you.
Most of it rolled into the first one from Red Rock and the other. It runs the thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, is that all the questions we have? I'm ready for a motion.
And I'll make a motion that we accept staff recommendation and advancement of sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, and I'll take a second from Mr. Deal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved.
Thank you.
That concludes our public hearings for this evening. The next items we have are preliminary plan approvals, starting out with All Nations Outreach Center.
Yes, this is a request for preliminary plan approval. The project is All Nations Outreach Center. The file is 2105-178. The developer is All Nations Outreach Center, and the engineer is DeMagno Consulting. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 11, parcel 9.12, and is located approximately 0.1 mile west of County Route 9/15 and 9/80, south of West Virginia Route 9. This project proposes a 13,600 square foot church, basketball facility, and daycare facility to be served by public water and private septic. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On April 8th, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the preliminary plan.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Mr. DeMagno.
Yep, I represent the project.
Thank you.
Extra Brown is in the audience.
Okay. All right. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. DeMagno or of Mr. Brown?
Hearing no questions, to make a motion, we accept staff recommendations for approval of the preliminary plan.
I have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to approve the preliminary plan for All Nations Outreach Center. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passed. Okay, the next item for preliminary plan approval is Baker's Crossing Townhomes.
Yes, this is another request for preliminary plan approval. The project is Baker's Crossing Townhome Subdivision. The file is 2103-093. The developer is J. Hess Group, and the engineer is Greenway Engineering. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 12J, parcels 14 and 19. This project is located at the intersection of Charlestown Road and Ceramic Drive. This project proposes the development of 8 townhome lots on 0.87 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On July 19th, 2021, County Engineer Doug Smith stated that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the subdivision ordinance. The preliminary plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends advancement of the preliminary plan to the final plat stage.
Okay, do we have anyone to represent Baker's Crossing?
Brooke Walburn, representing Greenway Engineering.
Planning Commission members, do you have questions, Mrs. Walburn? Is it Walburn?
Walburn.
What's your first name?
Brooke?
Brooke. Thank you.
Hearing no questions, now we'll make the motion, we accept staff recommendation for advancement to the preliminary plan to the final plat stage.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to grant preliminary plan approval and for it to go to the final plat stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Butts property, sorry.
Yes, this is a request for waiver that was tabled at the April 4th meeting. So it's Butts Properties LLC. The file is 2203-070. The developer is Jordan Butts and the surveyor is Greg Yabernetsky. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 18M, parcel 9. The site's located on the south side of Nagenbush Lane, approximately 0.7 miles east of Winchester Avenue in the Hillcrest Heights subdivision. The developer is proposing the subdivision of an existing 0.65 acre parcel, creating one 0.38 parcel and one 0.28 acre parcel. Both parcels would be served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to section 305.4.1 of the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance, requiring a 2-acre minimum lot size in order to proceed through the preliminary final process. Since the proposed lots meet the minimum lot size requirements of 7,500 square feet for single-family dwellings with public water and sewer, and will obtain a WVDOH entrance permit, engineering and planning staff recommends approval of the waiver to section 305.4.1 of the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance, requiring a 2-acre minimum lot size in order to proceed through the preliminary final process.
Okay, I need a motion to untable this project.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Goff, I'm sorry,
Second.
second by Mr. Gokenhour to untable the project. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the project is open for discussion. Do we have anyone representing the project?
Yes, Greg Abernathy here to represent the project.
Any commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Yabernitzky? I think we determined at the last time that we listened to this project that it had been 2 lots in the 80s, combined and made 1 lot, and now they want to take it back to 2 lots.
We'll break it back into 2.
That's a lot of money that you're spending. Do they know that? And you're getting rich.
Not really. If I was, I wouldn't be here.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be fishing.
Fishing? Good. You know, fish don't bite when the cows are starving.
That's right, baby.
Planning commission members, do you have questions? I think we beat this around a good bit. We didn't have anybody here to answer any questions, so it was tabled for that reason.
If there are no questions, I make a motion we accept staff recommendations and allow it to proceed through the preliminary final process.
Okay, I have a motion, Mr. Lewis.
Second.
Second, Mr. Goff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Did you have a question?
I did, because it just dawned on me that there was a gentleman in question about a corner lot marker.
Yeah, he never called me. I think somebody gave me my phone number. He never did call me as far as I know. But I had just flagged up the ones I had found. I wasn't really done since it was just just a sketch. I wanted to see what was out there, and since it was a public hearing, I wanted to make sure they could at least see where the where the boundaries were. I think he said I was missing 1 corner in the front. Well, that would have been the common corner of the 2 lots, which wouldn't have made much difference for the rest of the adjoining owners.
Okay.
So that was the question I had.
I mean, truthfully, you just broke the lots back out again. That should have been fairly simple.
If I found the corner there, they were all there. I was just remarking what was already there.
Yeah, but I think that was the question, that one particular corner had not been marked, and that was only his corner of his asphalt there. Okay, thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is
you.
final plat determination for Weber Springs.
No, I don't think you actually, you didn't vote on that yet.
We
I
did
thought-
vote.
yeah, we
No
voted.
question.
Yeah, we voted on it.
Yeah.
He had a question after.
I thought you waited for him.
We're way ahead of you.
It was after.
But when they
Yeah.
said aye, when it dawned on me, there was a corner marker issue.
So I didn't do that.
Yeah, it was all ours. Do you need me to read it back to you?
I remember.
Okay, wake up. Okay, request for final plat determination, Weber Spring.
Yes, this is a request for final plat determination for Weber Springs, Section 3, Phase 2, lots 314 through 318, file 2111-417. The developer is Weber Springs LLC, and the surveyor is Roberts Land Surveying. It's located in the Mill Creek District, tax map 10, parcel 18.5, and is located along Middleway Pike, approximately 1,800 feet south of Sulphur Springs Road. This is proposing 5 single-family detached lots on approximately 1.4 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter on April 27th, 2022, stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was completed and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the June 6, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, do we have someone to represent the project?
Yes, Mike Roberts, represent
Thank
the
you.
project.
Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Roberts or of the staff?
Hearing none, make the motion that we accept staff recommendation for final plat determination and advertising for public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the June 6, 2022 plan.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Ball, to accept staff recommendation and to do a final plat determination at a public hearing on June 6, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have anything from staff, council?
As far as engineering is concerned, we completed the draft of the MS stormwater management ordinance. I was given legal to understand that I was dealing to the county council. So we're waiting for, I believe, comments back. That will feed right over into the subdivision ordinance.
Have you looked at it, Mr. Legal? And?
Yeah, mostly, actually, Mr. Delegate did more with that, and I've looked at it. He didn't. He's way more into the details on this thing.
Oh, okay.
I would say it's in the order of everything.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Where I'm more in the details on the subdivision. Division of labor.
Well, whatever works. I do wish, that you would take Mr. Settle's comments that he is offering to the subdivision rewrite committee, and take a look at them.
Well, we have.
I've actually responded to those multiple times.
Yes, we have responded to
Yeah.
several.
Like, as of like 2 months ago as well.
Okay, well, I know he gets a little confused, and I may be a little short with him this evening, but I wasn't in the idea that we should be into a little back and forth conversation. So that's why I shut him down, I'm sorry. It's nothing that we haven't heard 5 times before or more.
We've all shown Mr. Settle where to get the information from and explained it multiple times, but we will go through this
Do it again.
handout and make sure that those have been addressed if they haven't been already.
Yeah. If it isn't one thing, then it's another with him. He's just, looking for things to complain about. And I feel sorry for him for a certain aspect because he just doesn't understand.
And we went through all of these comments in the first issuance of the rewritten subdivision ordinance. And I know Laura and I, and Jeff, we went through every one of them.
Yeah.
We responded back.
Do you have copies of that?
Yeah.
Yes, so we have those from the rewrite, from the subdivision ordinance rewrite committee, we went through those, and then last time we met with Mr. Settle at the Developers Roundtable, he stated that there were questions that he sent to Heather previously that he never got a response from, so I got those and I responded back to them, so I'll send out the responses from the subdivision ordinance committee and the ones that I just sent out.
And then I'll get with Steve.
Okay.
Go through these.
Okay.
And I'll try to put a summary in there and work out turned over already to the HOA in each one of those, because Alan was wanting money back and I was pushing them to, so a lot of that stuff he already has went transferred over. We're just waiting on him we're waiting on good weather for grass to grow, and some of his bonds will be going back in all those things. That's really where he's at.
And as for the pool, if that section has been turned over to the HOA and they're negotiating with Alan because they don't want to accept the cost of the pool, that's a vote that the HOA would have to take in negotiation with Panhandle. So I do know that was a concern of the people that lived in Bridal Creek currently, but knowing that they're going to have 300, 400 more homes included into that subdivision, it might be something that they want to take into consideration, but if it's been turned over to them, it's their decision.
Yeah.
I appreciate you asking. I have seen multiple subdivisions in this area make the switch, but they don't have a pool, and they know we don't have a pool. And it's, I hate to see that. I wish there was some way to get some kind of clarification on that when people bought their house there instead of thinking
Once they
that it
let
was
the cat
happening.
out of the bag and they're advertising that to sell homes, it's kind of hard to,
Yeah.
You can't just pull that back.
Yeah,
Well, but they do.
Well, unfortunately, it's looked at
a
as
lot.
open space and it's not like a requirement within the subdivision ordinance. So as long as Panhandle can do like major plan changes, if they retain ownership of that area, they can manipulate what the use is of it. But I mean, I completely understand, and I understand where Mr. Settle's coming from with it. It's just one of those things that we don't really have any control over in terms of enforcing.
Yeah, well, one of the things that this body needs to remember is that any changes that have been made to the plans, like a waiver here, a waiver there, he's complaining about them having waivers. This body gave them to him. So, we need to remember that whenever we give a waiver, the repercussion of it to John Q. homeowner 5 years down the road. That's the bad part. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Anybody have anything?
To adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Goff at 6:45 and second by Mr. Deal. All those in favor?
It's really.